Almost. There we go. Okay, perfect. So our driving question this morning: in what ways has your relationship with self improved or elevated or matured this year? In what ways has your relationship with self improved, elevated, or matured this year? Now I don't have tea this morning. I have a smoothie, but I'll wait.
You know, I really, I can't resist it. I just can't. It's like, let's get this rolling, y'all. Let's look, come on, y'all. I know y'all got something to say. Spirit is always calling all the beautiful things and introspective, profound insights you guys have. Yeah, but because I'm the elder, I'm going to just jump right on in. I've been reflecting on that, Adande, for quite a while lately, because one of the things that I have experienced this year is a greater sense of acceptance,
Mm.
self acceptance, and not, um, not, I won't say denigrating myself, but not feeling like I have to be like Delisha or I have to be like Stacy. Um, but me, just just show up in my power. And that's a wonderful thing for me as a people pleaser because I always wanted to do what I thought Delisha needed or would make her like me more. Or Stacy has this and I'm gonna, I want to be with Stacy. So that's one of the improvements. Another thing is a sense of belonging, a
Mm.
sense of belonging. You know, I know wherever I go, I don't care where it is, wherever I go, I belong. You know, I showed up on this planet incarnate at this time for a purpose. And wherever God sends me, whatever, whoever I encounter, it's just what it is supposed to be. And so that's great. Another thing you talked about elevating this year, um, my awareness of presence,
Mm.
my awareness that I am ever, never, ever alone. I am always in spirit. You know, um, I am a spiritual being having a human experience, and and I will say I'm a human being having a spiritual experience. And
Mhm.
so this has been quite a remarkable year. Uh, Unlearning a lot of bad behaviors. I proudly want to say that I went to the doctor on Friday. Now I'll reserve the joy and the pain part for later because I know it's going to come up. So I went to the doctor on Thursday, but part of the joy was that uh, my total weight loss now is 117 pounds.
Hey, amen.
So I want to share that with my family. And that's part of the improvement. So I'm going to shut up and let all these young, brilliant minds and beautiful spiritual beings, my daughters, uh, take the banner, the torch, and speak up. Thank you, Lizzie. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, Mama Love. Congratulations. We are always here to support the journey and the direction that you are growing towards your health. We are just so proud of you and happy that you allow us to witness it. It's such a motivation and discipline and the honesty and transparency that you work through and towards with is super helpful because it is a reminder that our path is our own. And like you said, we don't have to do it like you. We don't have to do it like the next person, as long as we continue to move forward on that path. We thank you. Good morning, Delisha. Good morning, Lizzie. Good morning, Samira. Good morning, Remedy. We are so happy to have you. Sally, come through with our question. In what ways has your relationship with self improved or grown or elevated or shifted this year? Oh, I'm so happy. I don't even know where you're about to go, but I'm so excited.
First of all, congratulations, Mama. Oh my gosh, 117 pounds. I was happy with 7, but 117? Okay, I got you. I think for me, it has been realizing who I actually am and have been for a very long time and who I thought I wanted to be, which is exactly who I am. And the things that I have achieved within my life. But learning, I think within the last month that um, stepping outside of what timelines I think that I set for myself. Well, I can't do this until I do this, and I can't do that until this gets done. And I just said, like a month ago, screw that. I went and got my hair done. um, I called a lawyer and got my house figured out and fixed and da 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 da. And then Wednesday, I got a call from that same said lawyer. Says, "Oh yeah, they're going to pay you some money." What? So, just staying within the realms of who I am, how I use my voice, um, and I'm now looking forward now to stay on that path and not look back at what I might have left behind or what I should have done and the da 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 and stop rolling it. I had a favorite friend of mine who said to me one time, he said, "Today's a new day. Stop rolling in the mud of yesterday." And I was like, oh, okay. So I'm washing the mud off daily and moving on to um, what makes me happy and what makes my soul happy, which happens to be reaching out to others, especially my students, and letting them know exactly who God's created them to be too. And it's not to be sad, and it's not to be a victim, and it's not to be oppressed, and it's not to be anything other than the image of Him, the image of God. So, yeah. So
Yeah.
that's where I'm today. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. Realizing who I am is the same as who I've always wanted to be. My God, my God. If that is not a word and a statement, just even with what Mama Love was saying, there's a scripture that says we compare ourselves amongst ourselves, and it is this idea to not look at people who think of themselves as high and mighty, but to focus on you and your own righteousness. And Sally is like, I've been righteous this whole time. And this year I took a moment. This year I decided that I was going to accept that and live in that. I had to see it for myself. But everything I keep looking around and saying, that ain't nothing about me. And in fact, I am already she. I am already she. That I told you, Sally, I knew something was coming. I knew it was gonna be good. I knew that. I realizing who I am is the same as who I've always wanted to be. My God, if that is not a word. Thank you. Thank you for that. Miss Alicia.
I was thinking of that song too when you said I'm she. I love that Tamara put that in there. Good morning, everyone. Beautiful question. Lots of things come to mind, but the thing that is like most resonant with me right now is shifting my relationship to fear. I grew up, I'm like now able to look back and to say that like I grew up with like in a family of immigrants who had just came to a new country after Civil War and like did not recognize how much uh fear was just like present in the bodies and the experiences of the adults that were around me. And I became a very anxious child and like I thought death was had escaped me. I would always imagine the different ways that like I thought I was gonna die like for so much of my childhood. And then like even as I became older, just becoming really anxious, being in like these predominantly white spaces and feeling like I need to say the right thing, do the right thing. And I just was very like fear driven. And it was interesting because I was talking to my dad earlier this year and he was saying how like fear kept him alive, that like he didn't have a safety net. So he couldn't go to the party because if something happened to him and he got arrested, no one was going to be there. So like fear was like the motivating factor for so many of the adults around me. And I just took it as like a normal way of being, of just being like, I took it as being smart. Like, I was just like, I'm not taking those risks. I'm safer. I'm making these calculated choices. But it wasn't until like, I think last year, I feel like I said, like, somebody asked the question, like, how often are we making fear our God? And that like really disturbed me and made me want to really shift my relationship to fear, recognizing how often fear was keeping me in this perpetual loop of like not going after things that I wanted and like being stuck in a state of self doubt, being stuck in a state of being so cautious that I wouldn't make the risk necessary for like my dreams, but I was taking the safe choices. And I feel like for a while, I thought the answer was to like shame and ignore fear. And I think this year I really learned how to like be with fear in a way that is tending to it, my nervous system. And it's just been really cool in like these little ways that I've noticed that I don't feel as afraid before. So like one example would be um when I'm going for walks and I get catcalled, my immediate mind goes to like someone's about to harm me, they're gonna follow me. My whole nervous system goes into the state of like fear. And I've learned to instead like of putting my attention towards what that person is doing is just to like turn to myself and like say I'm safe, I'm calm and like calm my nervous system. And another thing has been my relationship with like bugs, like spiders in particular, because spiders, all those things like it's so wild to me now that something so little who probably sees me as a fucking giant that I have been conditioned to be so afraid of them and that my fear has immediately meant that they must die. Like it's just such an absurd thing to me now. And so now that I've been coexisting with these things, it's so good to feel in my body these things that I used to be terrified of. Just now I don't even feel fear towards them. And that's translated to the way that I've been conditioned to feel fear around so many other different types of people, people who believe things different than me, white people, men, all these things. It's like I don't feel that same sense of fear and terror in my nervous system. And that's also translated to like the fear that I have around some of the big dreams that I want to pursue. That like and before I would just feel like in order to stay safe, I need to avoid and like try to that fear was a sign for me to like do something to not pursue it, to not go in that direction, to go another direction. But now I feel way more equipped to like see the thing, see the fear, be with my fear, and not let that either put me in behaviors to where I am like my nervous system goes out of whack or I feel threatened by a spider or a person or that I like avoid pursuing the risk of the dreams that like I want. So it's been really and to understand that like fear was how I made myself feel safe. It's how most of my family made themselves feel safe. Like I'm not even mad at it, but recognizing that there's a way that mine has been out of whack. Like I've had an overreaction to fear, and also that like living in this oppressive culture, manipulates our sense of fear. And so recognizing these different things has helped me to be in like a healthier relationship with my fear and to be able to tend to those parts of myself that have felt safety and fear and to find other ways to feel safe.
I don't even know where to begin. Actually, I do know where to begin. Um, Spiders are gross. So there's that.
Spiders are my spirit animals. I've now learned that spiders have messages for me. So I gotta I was being haunted by spiders like everywhere until my teacher was like, go look at the message. And so now I'm like, okay, I have to have a different relationship with spiders. So I've been taught to think of them as gross, but
No, I appreciate it.
fine.
It's super funny that you would say that because
Geometry.
we are on retreat here at the Shaw Reserves. And as I was walking out of the bathroom yesterday, there is a spider. I had literally said earlier, like, oh, I'm good as long as we don't see spiders. And there's a spider, like, size of a $50 spread out. And I'm walking around like, excuse me, somebody's got to take care of this. I don't care what you do to it or with it or whatever, but it can't be in here. Not if you expect me to move from the spot, because now I have to watch it. I have to see what's going to happen to it because I'm terrified of spiders, which brings me back to, when you first said stripping my relationship with fear, what I wrote underneath that was stripping my relationship or attachment to the fear of others. And then as you began to speak, how recognizing that, especially people that are helping us to cultivate and grow in our own right, in our formative years, how much their fear can be put upon us, and the need to recognize that while fear for some is a survival tactic, when it's secondhand, it might put us on this hamster wheel, like you said, of judgment and self-doubt, and that prevents movement. So I used to say to people all the time, like, all shit ain't your shit. So having to separate and realize, well, what part of this is actually mine? What am I actually afraid of? Now I have real life experiences that make me afraid of spiders, but that does not mean that there's not a lesson in this. That does not mean that when they show up, I have to have the same visceral or embodied response to it. And I get to challenge that. I had the thought yesterday. Yesterday, I could have started that journey. I chose to not. I chose to ask somebody to remove the spider. I didn't want to start yesterday. Maybe I'll start tomorrow. Perhaps this conversation is an invitation. I don't know. But you are right when we are talking about shame and fear and how terror can be so unfounded. Thank you so much. And how that keeps us bound. So I wonder, well, this is another question, but I wonder if we all are thinking about how, as I'm asking about your relationship to self, now I'm also curious about your relationship to the things that you have been afraid of. But we can go back to the initial question. How has your relationship with self, thank you for that, Talisha, shifted or changed or evolved over time or over this year?
I could share a little bit.
Yes, please. Good morning, Lizzie.
Good morning, everybody. So good to be here. The first thing, sorry, I just ate something spicy. The first thing that I think of when you ask this question, Adande, if anyone, like the people closest to me will know I've been talking about this year because it's been really impactful to me, but I have, in the last couple of years, I have discovered a system called human design that some people might know of here. I would say it's a consciousness mapping system. I don't see it so much as a personality typing, but more of like understanding our unique energy blueprints. Anyway, through that system, I have learned so much about myself. a lot of things that were like I always felt but didn't have like language for, or thought like didn't have like an outside affirmation, right, of them. Like it feels like it was a lot of what I learned was like affirming and confirming for me. But the the important thing to share is that for me, my journey with this system has been hugely and continues to be hugely about self-love and
Mm,
self-worth and self-value. So I would say like, and I, just like any long-term journey or whatever, like it continues to be like such a journey, right? Of like experiencing periods where I feel so rooted or so in the healed version of that, like so in practice of like self-love, self-value, like, and then of course, like so much time spent outside of that or in a different way. But yeah, what do I want to say at the essence of it? Yeah, I just continue to learn so much. And what I'm learning happens to be unique to like my type in this system. But I also think these are all universal lessons, I believe, like just the profundity of like what it means to really value yourself fully and love and value yourself as you are. Like it sounds trite in some ways, but it's not. It's like so freaking foundational. So I feel like I am growing. I feel like I am growing a lot in my own relationship of self-love, self-regard, self-value.
mm. Thank you. I had to have a pause when you got to self-regard, and I don't know why that brought this wave over me as different from um, love and value and worth, but the self-regard just kind of hit a little different. So like I was prepared to speak, and then he said that, and I'm like, hold on, tears. Uh,
Yeah.
One, I love human design. I don't know. I think we've had a bit of this conversation. But the idea that it helps us to see like these deeper roots. I think sometimes we might even look at, self-confidence and self-love as having shallow roots. Um, Something that may in fact be a response to something, um or like be birthed because someone has challenged it, like like it's a I don't know, I can't find another word other than response at this moment, but that as opposed to something that's always been there. What did Sally say? Realizing that the person that I am is who I've always wanted to be.
Yeah.
I know that sometimes I will walk around and I look at people who show up like super confident. I'm like, man, I really want to be like that. And then people will sometimes come to me and say, man, Adande, like your confidence is amazing. And I'm like, hey, you crazy, but that's what's up. Is it? Are you sure? Because I'm not. But I'm happy of this, for this exchange, this kind of the seeking, but it is always this knowing that it's deep, it's not wide. It's deeper, it's not someplace outside of the self. And I don't know, that's such a beautiful space to recognize and identify the growth, but also recognize that growth is still happening there. So thank you for that.
Thanks for the question, Adande.
Oh, self-regard, my God. Stacy, come on.
Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
I know your question focused on this year,
Mm,
but for me, it marks a change that is probably coming after the last 35 to 40 years. So I can't limit it to this year. So sorry to disregard your question and your parameters, but I'm gonna have to break the rules.
We like rule breakers.
When I was in 8th grade, I grew up poor, just like poor. It was my mother and myself. Was an immigrant, so I was a child of an immigrant in Boston. So I was very conscious, as I think many of us are, about survival. And I decided that I needed to make a decision between the life of the mind and the life of the body. I was a dancer, and dancing was my first love.
Mm.
And I didn't think the life of the body was safe. So I chose the life of the mind. I think in so doing, that was a certain kind of cosmic amputation, if you will, of my being. And thankfully, I am a highly intelligent person. So the life of the mind has sustained me well. But the entirety of my academic and professional career, I've always been like, what do I want to do? What do I want? I felt like there was something inside of me that was great, but I knew I wasn't living it. And I kept searching for it and not finding it. I kept like the doing. Oh God. Ooh, Black women. I was doing and doing and doing to the point where literally I think I have made myself sick. And I think the shift that has been happening is that I'm now, after all of this illness, at a place where this is what has arrived this year, is the need for surrender. That's how I showed up in this space, recognizing that I needed to give over to something else because my trying to unlock wasn't accomplishing what I want. So I think that my major shift is surrender. And the close companion to that is someone said before, I think it might have been you, Adande, when you were praying about amplifying all that is divine. And for me, it's not just an amplification of it, but an amplification of my ability to welcome in all that is divine so that I can walk with it, whatever it is, and stop thinking I know on, the most superficial level what my path is, because clearly I don't. But I do trust that there's some deeper, either personally spiritual or communally ancestral or universal or something way that knows more. And I'm looking for that I want to be open to that. I want to be open to that. And I want to, whatever those things are, I want to develop the discipline to practice those things so that I can tap into the greatness that I honestly think that everyone has greatness in them, but it's a matter of identifying it and then practicing it. And I want to be able to do that for myself. So I think to me, that's the biggest shift. And that's it.
Stacey, you tap dancing all over my soul right now. Yes, yes, and yes to all of that. I want to highlight and love how you are recognizing that this lesson this year in particular seems to be the catalyst of an experience of lessons in time that is resulting in this coming through. I don't know if this is the first time you've ever said this, but a sort of cosmic amputation is like, I think, one of the realest concepts I've ever heard. Like when we pit our minds and our bodies, those experiences against each other, one of them can't. In whatever moment, if we suggest that one or only one can survive in the moment, that means that the other one can't. So this kind of cosmic amputation, like I don't know that y'all know I'm a word person, so that in and of itself just painted an amazing picture. But to come back to not just the ability to surrender, but to give over, but to also understand that once I give over, there has to be a reciprocal welcoming. My arms can be open to, so that things can come into my life, not just me saying, okay, I'm gonna give it over to you, but I have to be welcoming. There's got to be this open invitation. Now, the part I really didn't like is this concept of discipline and practice. You really could have kept that, but you're right. You're right. So, okay, fine. Okay. That's all I'm saying. You're right. Discipline is actually one of my words for the new year, and consistency, recognizing that some of this is tied together, and we'll actually get to one of these questions in a moment, but this idea of how fear for me disrupts my discipline. So if it is by way of, I feel like I've been doing one thing too long and I'm afraid that I'm going to get stuck, or if I feel like, oh wait, I might actually see what I've been working on and now I'm afraid, and so I get off. So whichever way it is, fear for me often disrupts my discipline. If I recognize it, I'm like, oh, I'll be consistent, look at me, then it's like I trip and I fall and I stumble and I'm like, oh crap. So we're gonna come back to your beautiful words in a little bit. Wanted to say good morning, Taya. So happy to have you with us. And then Carolyn, and then Sweet Tea.
Are you calling on me now?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Ms.
Okay. And do you hear me well?
Wonderfully.
You hear me well? Yeah. I guess first I just want to say I'm so moved by everyone's words, but particularly Stacy, who just spoke. I just feel so touched by what you shared. And my heart is just attuning to that part of you as a young dancer and what it was to, it sounds like, abandon that path for a path that was safe and that was socially validated. And I feel that dancer in you, and just that I get to see, just see even more of you. It's just really touching, and I bow to your journey, and what it's been, and I relate to it. I relate to it in the sense of having participated in the amputation of the greater dimensions of my being in order to be, in order to walk a socially validated path, and a path that seemed would bring me to safety, having grown up in a really unsafe home. And this year, and this culminates with last night, I'm coming in a place of deep celebration this morning. This year has been a journey towards inhabiting my place in the world with more and more authenticity. And it seems like for years I've been kind of circling around, like, I know who I am. I know what I'm here to bring forth. I know the dreams that live in me. But like, wow, is it intimidating to stand in that space and to believe I can, and to inhabit it fully. And I'm a ceremonialist, and I'm here to build a ceremonial community on the land, and I'm here to serve the revival of sacred culture, and I've become one who can say these things unapologetically and without some kind of imposter syndrome or internalized patriarchy that's like, what the hell are you saying? You know, what's that? You know, or something like that. I've become one that can inhabit that. And last night, Michael and I had perhaps our first big gathering on this land, and that we're calling Slate Creek Sanctuary. And we held space so impeccably, and people were just cracked open and sharing their souls really deeply. We did the solstice spiral ritual that many of you have done with me, and lots of people came, and people just showed up like totally unlike you expect people to show up. So appreciative, so real, so authentic, and in sharing from depths. And Michael and other people said to me several times that they had never seen me more in my element than how I led the ceremony last night and how I held space. And I shared who I am and why I'm here without diminishment. So I'm really, and you know, this is also me not diminishing the divine, because we're enculturated to know ourselves as victims and as consumers, rather than, as victims or entitled people or consumers or less than whatever, all of these stories. And there's this other story of us getting to be channels of grace and blessing and those that shine the light of soul and liberation in the world. And last night I felt like I inhabited that. And I feel like in this space, Spirit Rising space, like I've been given a little cocoon where I could practice being myself. And that's helped me to get through and get to this place. So I just wanted to share those celebrations, and we were packed here last night. It was quite amazing.
Thank you, Carolyn, for that. We are so excited for what is going to continue to grow, but it's also just a beautiful thing hearing that, not only did you feel completely in your element, but that light was so bright and visible that others were like, yes, like this is the whole of you, and could celebrate that with you, and share that, and give that back. And then also just knowing, what happens when we're able to lean in fully without that level of authenticity and grace for self, and how that in and of itself is the invitation for others to begin to peel back their own layers. When we see someone who can just be that much of who they are, it makes it easier for us to do the same. So excited, and I'm certain that there is more to come, more people to play in the land and on the land. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think there was something. No, I said it. Okay. Wanted to make sure I got what I put in my notes. Okay, Sweet Tea.
Hey, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
This is really rich conversation. And Stacy, unbelievable. Thank you. I share the same thoughts as Carolyn in terms of your story, a dancer. I see you in a new light, and I love that. A dancer. And you said it so perfectly. This question resonates with me. Wow. This is what has happened with me this year in terms of being able to, elevate, improve, and mature within myself with my coming to recognize and understand where the trauma has come from, which I've understood before, but now I am, which is patriarchy and capitalism. But now I am voicing this to others and putting it out in the world so that more people could speak about it, so that we do something more intentional, so that we can live in our authenticity that patriarchy and capitalism take away from us. And what Stacy has says, and Carolyn and Lizzie and everybody that has spoken today, Delisha, what she had said, I mean, with the spider, that story about the fear and the spider and everything and how that came around, very well painted and pictured. And it comes back to these structures. And, Lizzie, with using your human design system, I know you've spoken about it before, and would love to talk to you about that more. So in this, in what ways has your relationship with self elevated, improved, or matured this year? I just want to say yes. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I mean, I would love to sit here and I need more time for reflection, but I don't think I need to say anything more than yes. I have. And being able to be at this spot and all your reflections, y'all, today, you said what I came to in June in understanding the system. I was in the blender of the system. I was at the epicenter of that system as being an alderwoman, and then stepping back after being at that epicenter of power and understanding that, and now not being there. And having that experience is so important. Having your experiences, our experiences, and living from those experiences, they're real. And when they're real, you can make change, but you have to live them and experience that pain and that hurt and those challenges, which I did with my 50 plus years too. I don't say it was just that one experience. It was that one experience with all the 50 years plus, and putting that all together. And it was like this buildup. And it was a miracle. And a miracle where I'm at today. I am incredibly grateful. I'm incredibly grateful for Spirit Rising and this community that I've been in for, I think, about 5 years, and seen the growth of all of us. And Carolyn, I mean, you have grown, and I posted something on Facebook about it because I was as I read some of your stuff you had on Facebook, and I gave you a post on that because what people saw last night, I put that on the Facebook a few days ago. And I didn't see what I saw last night, but people are seeing it. And I'm seeing it in everyone here. Eileen, you're speaking. And I know you didn't speak yet, but you did last week. And it was powerful. And Sally, too. I heard you today. And everybody else. So I just can't thank enough being here. And I'm speaking more and more, and my voice is getting out there more and more. And a joy I have, an unexpected joy I have, is I have not told my family about writing my memoir. No member of my family. But I spoke to my brother a couple days ago, and he went home to see my mom. And he spoke about an incident at home, which I had just written about a few weeks ago. And I said to myself, That's exactly the same way I described that incident in my story about being home. Maybe I should read that to my brother. I go get that story that I wrote in class and then expanded about my mom keeping the blinds down and how when I come home, I need to open up those blinds because I want to see the window. I want to see the world. I want light in the house. We got a great big picture window that has sunlight that can come in. But those blinds are closed all the time. My dad did it. Now my mom does it. When my brother came home and he's like opening the blinds and my mom doesn't like it, we do it anyways. So I wrote that in a story and I was like, this is an opportunity to share with my family what I'm writing. I didn't say I was writing a memoir. I said, hey, Dad, I have a story I wrote. I want to share this piece with you. Same story that you just told me. I ended up reading the whole story and not just the piece that I thought I was trying to find. I couldn't find it. So I just said, I'll read the whole story. My brother said, you need to be an author. I was riveted at what you said. Your storytelling is great. There are free apps out there. You need to do a podcast. You need to record yourself. You need to make that into a chapter and have feedback. I said nothing about writing a memoir. I just said I wrote this story. Unexpected joy. My brother gave me permission to be an author. Mom, hey, Dad said I should be an author. He literally said, you need to be an author. And I have a story, and I'm not going to tell that story, about how I've struggled with English and reading comprehension. I was put back, stayed back after kindergarten because I could not read properly. And I still struggle reading. And it's hard for me to read books. So I've stayed away from English. I mean, I get anxiety during the standardized tests in grade school because I could not answer those. What is the plot? What? I'd be reading that paragraph over and over because I have executive language function challenges, which I found out in grad school. So that's huge. And it's huge. And my writing has gotten a lot better in the last few months. Working with a writing coach who said to all of us, I treat you like children. I come in and I treat you like little children. You're all getting A's. Because you don't say when your little kid comes to you and tells you a story, that's bad. You say, that's great. And that's how this writing teacher treats us all. Rebecca's unwavering yes. That's how she does. You're a child. And she told us that. And that's authenticity, being a child. Because we know what's best. Because actually we know what's best. I was going to say we don't know, but we do know what's best. So thank you.
One, that was amazing. But you gave the best answer to that question. Yes, and yes. That was absolutely. And I love how you keep coming back to this space of authenticity and even the kind of how that brings us back into the child parts of us that really ground our own knowingness. And as we grow, there's this forgetfulness, this social conditioning that challenges it. But if we can just get back to, that unqualified yes, that I'm going to teach you like a treat. If we could do that for ourselves, when we start something new. I know, Delisha, you said this a long time ago, but this concept of, when we start a new practice, we're young in it. And yet we hold this expectation that this thing I've only been doing for 2 years, I should be way more advanced because I'm super smart in this other area, or I'm this age, or whatever it is. But really, I'm a 2-year-old. So I've got to stop beating my 2-year-old self in this department over the head, expecting me to be 13 years old when I'm not, or 25 and I'm not, or 40 and well, I'm still not. So, all of these things, and Sweet Tea is just such a beautiful peeling back and discovery, especially this year that you have allowed us to witness, in both trials and successes. So thank you for that, but also thank you for the way in which you're able to see and qualify it for us. So, okay, this is amazing. We are gonna keep this slightly pushy up. Tamira, come through.
Alafia, good morning.
Good morning. Oh,
I
you're a
am,
little raspy.
yeah, my kids had something last week, and so I have it, and I'm in the midst of getting over it, but I am here. It is super rainy today, but I'm here and deeply appreciating being present with everyone and seeing your face and hearing your voice, Adande. I know I haven't been here for the past couple of Spirit Risings, but just, happy to be in the space with you and hear your voice and see your face. So thank you. The question, how has my relationship with myself improved or elevated or matured? I feel like over this past year, I've really been on this journey of really learning how to trust myself, like at the core of myself more deeply. And that has meant really slowing down and getting out of my own way when it comes to like my work that I feel like I'm supposed to be living into. I feel like I'm gaining this ability to stop and ask more questions before I make decisions, to more clearly be in this discernment process collectively, like with all of my layers of support, asking like, is this in the direction of affirming what I'm supposed to be doing, whatever the thing is, whatever comes up. Because I feel like in the past, I have been in places where I've been very easily distracted or felt like I needed to do this other thing because it was there and it was available. And so I've really been in this process of slowing down more deeply. And I'm really looking forward to even next year, because I've been doing this, I'm just thinking of like, oh, I feel like this fine tuning coming into place where like in this practice, there's creating a field of possibility now that I'm able to slow down more and be in deeper discernment. Like the field of possibility is like being cultivated through that, right? Because there's a slowness and a steadiness, and these other things are not crowding the field and taking up energy. So I'm super excited about that. And I just have been deeply grateful for like the collective affirmation too, like in Spirit Rising and other communities where people are mirroring back to me, like, this is what you're supposed to be doing in so many words, and me like really stopping to receive that message when it comes to how I hold the work. And so that has been a beautiful and a bit of a challenging process, to have those pieces that I have hidden about myself sort of buried, and I share them and they're received with such deep love. It challenges everything that I hold around fear and everything that gets in the way of doing the work. And so I'm just grateful to continue to have the collective affirmation that like, this is resonant for me, like keep going. And so I'm grateful for that. And then the last thing that I'm going to say is that I've been thinking a lot about fear this past year. And even before that, I've carried a fear of death for a long time, since I was a child. And what I really want to work on next year is having a better relationship with death, so that fear is not my only lens of which I am relating to death through being afraid of it. And it's something that I've been sitting with for the past few months of like wanting to have more open conversations just with myself, with family members, so that it is not something that is like stigmatized or something that like we just don't totally talk about and that's taboo. And so that's one of the things that I want to have more honest and loving conversations with myself about, is like, having a more loving relationship with death that isn't shaped through fear. And there's this proverb in Yoruba that says sometimes the priest will say fear is more powerful than death, because when you hold fear over people, you control them. And the control is a death in itself. It's like multiple spiritual deaths over and over and over again. And so I really want to get to that place to be in a liberated relationship with death, because I feel like that will help me with working with fear. Thank y'all.
Thank you for all of that. I mean, even just, I'm not sure if you recognize kind of the circular or how those things connect, but starting with this ability to, or this quest and journey to trust the self, and then ending with this desire to have a more liberated relationship with death. Like those are 2 points that meet in this circle. But I'm loving this phrasing, a liberated relationship with whatever these concepts are, and how fear compromises our liberation. And so what does it mean to have a more loving relationship? I believe it was Delisha who again, brought us kind of into a space of tending and less shame, but more inquiry. And you too are talking about the curious ways that we get to explore how this shows up for us, so that it becomes part of a discerning process, part of a decision-making process, part of a self-affirming process, which, now we're back to this concept of self-regard. Like how all of these things go together and can be done beautifully. We don't have to just be like, oh, this is a negative or horrible thing. It can, in fact, be one of these bricks and layers that are required for us to get to the greatness, for the rest of ourselves to be revealed to self, or so that the depth of ourselves can be further dug and held into. Thank you for that. Thank you all for that. Taya, did you have your hand up, or was that like a...
I had it up. I put it down, but I would love to speak. I'm in tears over here.
Please do.
I'm gonna try to turn on my video, but I can't look at y'all because I'm driving, so you can see me. I am just so resonating with the strands that I've heard this morning since I joined, and like particular strands that are alive for me are like, I'm watching myself in this emergence, like into my like deeper, truer, like more resonant self. And I'm watching myself so afraid to let go of what has been. Particularly my fears that are coming up are around work. Like I keep trying to convene classes that are the old classes I used to teach, and I have zero interest in teaching them, but I'm just like doing it to be safe. Like somehow it's like, oh, I know how to make money this way, and people want me to teach these classes, and I have all the material ready from like 5 years ago. Like I don't want to teach that. I mean, I could teach that really well. I mean, what does really well mean? I know the content, but I just want to do what's life-giving to me. And it's scary to let go of what I have known and done, and like let go into the mystery. And every time I check in with any kind of oracle or just felt sense in my body, it's just like, let go into the mystery, and I'm scared. And it's like, it's what I know how to do, but I'm at a crossroads, and it's just right on time. I feel like so much the blessing of solstice in this time. And I also feel how lucky I am to like have things I would love to be up to. And if I just give myself the space to be creative, there's so much that I love. And I'm just watching myself continuing to push. And I spoke to a family member this morning, and they were like, how are you? Do you have a lot of work this coming week to do? And I realized just like how much I've placed my worth on my work, like my professionalization. I mean, even though like whatever, like I teach spiritual stuff, so that's kind of not like the most normal professionalization, but it's like if I'm not being professional in kind of the more like organizational way that I've worked in recent years, like, am I worthy? And like that's the like patterning I'm bumping up against. And I know in my mind that I'm worthy, but I watch my heart just like constricting, and it's like I tend to be really hard on myself, and I pushed myself so hard for so many years, and it's like I keep being like, what if I stop wondering, am I going to teach a class next month? And just give myself a sabbatical. Like, I mean, I have other work I'm doing, but like around these I have this one thing I can't let go of. And it's like, what if I say between now and spring equinox, I'm not going to launch a new class? Like, that would change my life. It would change my life because it would give me so much space to dream into the new me. So I don't know if I'm going to choose that, but I'm just saying it here, like as I approach solstice, like even if I gave myself a month without trying to make a new class, it would open up space for music, for joy, for creativity, for writing. So I'm just leaning into like, if I stop professionalizing, who will I be? And I feel really excited about who I will be, and still connecting the dots of how to get there, and grateful to be in community with y'all, and just really heartened to be here.
Thank you so much for that. So yeah, I'm not sure if you've considered this, but if you give yourself, I don't know, maybe a span of time between now and spring equinox, it will open up a huge space in your life, and you could be creative, and you could slow down, and you could dive into these other parts of who you are, and you'd have an opportunity to completely rediscover a class that might feel amazing and life-giving for you and for those that receive it. I'm just saying it's something for you to consider as you move forward. See, sometimes the stuff that rumbles around in our head, we just need to hear it in a different voice. We just need somebody to speak it back to us. Sabbaticals are good for us. Sabbaticals give us time, and they give us space to take a step back, and that bird's eye view that we're so good at doing for other people. Sabbaticals give us time to let everything settle so that we can then decide what needs to move forward and what needs to be laid to rest. But as we juggle, you can't figure it out because all the balls are constantly rotating in the air. So it's just a suggestion, but you might want to take a sabbatical.
It's like just when it arose here, I was just like, oh my God, I'm saying this out loud. It feels true and terrifying to say with witness.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just grateful for community to share my heart, and for your reflection for me and the invitation.
Absolutely. I am excited about what is coming. Samira.
And I just share something very quickly, Vitea, but come off video, I look a mess. But what was coming, as you said, the question is like, who will I be? And it's like, you will be who and what you already are beneath the veneer of professionalism, which is like that core and that essence of your being. Like it is you, and it is abundant, right? So it's like the other stuff getting out of the way. You will be who and what you truly are if you give yourself that space. And that, I think, is wild and beautiful. So like a wild blessing to that.
Yes, I'm receiving that blessing.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, Taya, for sharing that with us. You're actually, I love it when all things flow together, because you're going to jumpstart us kind of towards the next section. That was perfect. Sweet Tea.
I'm off mute. Yeah, thanks, Taya. I just want to share, I was in the blender for 50 years, but especially in the last 2 years, and people want me to have a job immediately. And I say, if I got a job immediately, I wouldn't be here having such joy in my life and know who I am, because that job would have made me do the same thing over and over and again. And you spoke here, you answer. I say you answered your question as you spoke to us, though. So you did. You answered your question. So I just have to say through experience, and I will be continue taking that time until that position comes, whenever that is, as much as possible. And I say to people who are scared about me, I say, you know what, I'm going to shout when I need it. If I when I need that job and I have to, I'll tell people, I'll be like, I need help.
Mhm.
But I had to get out of the blender and have that sabbatical. I wish I could continue, but I'm at a good place. Thanks.
I love that that blender. It sounds, or it feels when you say it, like how I kind of describe a snow globe. When you shake up the snow globe and all the things are swirling around. It feels like this. So I did have something to read to you. It's 12:24, and I want to make sure that we honor the time. And I really want to give you a chance to do some of this reflection. But I want to say that I had no idea where we were going. And by we, I mean what I had to say, if anything. I think I spoke with you all a couple of weeks ago about this kind of battle that I have felt in with anger and acceptance, and really allowing anger to be present in my life. And so a lot has just been coming up in the last month and a half for me. And I was grateful to have been off from Spirit Rising in November, because all of this stuff came up in November for me. And so it just so happened that I had space so that I could take the time to not necessarily investigate, but to see what was coming. And I'm not suggesting at all that I have any sort of answer. In fact, that was the problem. I was afraid because I didn't have words, because I have felt it difficult to hear God and Spirit lately, because there's been chaos that's happening, not always that is mine, but how do I speak into others about, you know, how we surrender, how we can be obedient, how to be more open when this turmoil is happening in my mind and in my body. And so much like I believe it was Mama Love, I'm leaning into acceptance, recognizing that all the parts of me aren't going to agree. No collective is 100% in agreement at any time. But the many versions that make up the am that I am takes all of those different perspectives too. The parts that lament, the parts that worry, the parts that are fearful, the parts that are ridiculously optimistic. And then I realized that there are parts of me that are just perpetually soft and tender. And not all of those parts are soft and tender because of trauma or previous hurt. Some of them just are, which means that I can allow growth to be messy and confusing and complicated and icky, while also recognizing that my favorite art form is abstract. I love poetry because of the different ways that we can hear and receive the message. I love the Bible because of the many ways that it is used for interpretation and application, not because I agree with all of it. And so I didn't really have words. I don't think I've ever gotten to the point where I had to wake up on a Sunday morning and be like, well, let me figure this out. And part of self was like, you just have to be honest, because everybody's going to struggle sometimes, and everyone's going to have some difficulty hearing seeing the best of themselves and the best that the world and has for us when there's so many opportunities and people and things that are saying nay to that, which is what brought me to this question of self and relationship with self. What does this mean about how I interact with me? And so I am going to still read this one little part so we can get to this reflection, because I think this is going to be really good. This is from After the Rain by Alexandra Elle, from the chapter Soothing the Suffering. And I'm speaking these words because they feel most resonant to me in this moment as a reflection of how I've been feeling. It says, I feel most at home in the silence of the morning, opening my eyes to the rising sun finding its way, leaving trails of honey gold and hues of orc and persimmon behind, blows my mind every time I witness the sunrise. It reminds me that all can be well and beautiful in life after the hush of the night's darkness. But sometimes there are some days, no matter how stunning the sky is, when gratitude can feel like a distant afterthought. One morning, many years into my self-healing work, I woke up from an unrestful sleep. Things felt heavy and out of place. My mood felt like a cloak covering me and smothering my joy. I immediately felt like I wasn't going to be able to have a good day. And there weren't enough affirmations in the world for me to change my mind. It was going to be one of those emotionally hard days. What rocked me even more was the tough time I was having trying to figure out and shake off what was the matter. I hate not knowing what is wrong with me. I felt alone and worried and ashamed for feeling both of these things. I'm going to skip a little bit. I'd worked so hard to identify ill feelings stemming from my childhood and hush them so they wouldn't be a distraction in my present day life. I thought I'd put those issues to rest. So to have them rushed back into my memory and take over my entire day made me doubt everything I thought I knew about the work I was doing on myself, everything I thought I'd healed from. In my mind, I had already arrived. I'd done the work it took to address all the things that triggered me. And I was frustrated that I was second guessing what I knew to be true about myself. Like I was stuck in some sort of endless cycle. I can't change what I can't change. And that's okay with me, but I'm frustrated and angry that what hurt me still seems to hurt me now. My truth was my truth. And sometimes it's exposed in messy and confusing ways, but that didn't mean I wasn't enough or worthy. It meant I was still learning from whatever I thought I had already learned. There was the lesson, period. And I needed to accept that until the end of my days. I'll never be able to silence suffering, but what I can do is try to soothe the suffering. So as we think about that, I'm going to play another song and ask you to ponder these questions, and I'm going to put them on the board or share screen. The first question comes directly from Alexandra Elle. What would you tell your younger self about mending after feeling broken? What would you tell your younger self about mending after feeling broken? What is something you still need to hear at this point in your life? See how that worked, Taya? What is something you still need to hear at this point in your life? And then moving forward, what is your theme or focus for 2024 or this point forward? What is your theme or focus from this point forward? Then there are a couple of statements, and you'll see those in a moment, that you can respond to. So I'm going to share my screen. do. Oop, wrong one. Always happens. Whenever I'm trying to be prepared. Let's try. There we go.
Preparing me for something I cannot handle right now. He's making me ready just because he cares. He cares. To carry out the next matter in my life, God is preparing. Hey, just because He cares. Oh, He's preparing me for everything that comes in my life. He's preparing me for something that I cannot handle right now, right now. He's making me ready, just because He cares. He cares. He's providing me with what I need to carry out my next matter in my life. God is preparing me. Because He cares for me. Yes, I know He's preparing me. Over everything that comes in my life, He's preparing me. And you know, He's preparing me because He cares. He is maturing me. Yes, He is. Because He cares. Hallelujah. And you know what? The Lord is arranging me. Yes, He is. And not only is He arranging, but He rearranged my attitude. Yeah. He prepared ready for the warfare. Yes, he is. He said, put on the whole armor of God. Yes, he did. And then I find myself growing in the knowledge of the Lord. Yes, I do. Just because he cares for me. Got my own, so I go where he says for me to go.
Okay. Yes, Carolyn, I love it too. I do. I had to shift my table around so I could get to the outlet. However, let me also put the questions and prompts in the chat. But I welcome this invitation because we get to build some inspiration for self and others. Part of the reason of asking what is something you still need to hear at this point is because someone in this space can then offer you that reflection. What you might tell yourself or your younger self about mending after the feeling of brokenness, I am certain others need to feel or to hear or to be reminded of, and the calling forth of what we desire to focus on for next year, one brings it into the space because we know that it is by accountability, but also by witness, by the courage of statement and affirmation that we can will things forward. And this is the perfect container to ask all present to put their energy and divine faith towards so that you might better manifest. And the last part, you can even just do the last part. It is something that I do a couple of times a year because it is the calling and naming of who you are. And literally, it ends with, you can call me, and you can name who you are in this phase. You can name an attribute, you can name characteristics. That's what makes this so wonderful and powerful. So I welcome anyone who would like to share. I got more tea, y'all.
I can get us started. The thing that I would tell my younger self, the things that I really, what am I trying to say? The things that were heartbreaking for me, the things that were really hard for me, the things that felt like suffering, not all things, but a lot of things I have also been like huge catalysts for my own growth and transformation. And I don't think it is, I need suffering to change. Like, I don't think it's that. I think it's more my ability to alchemize and transmute the things that come my way and to turn it into growth and yeah, and just opportunities to like deepen into my own self. I think I have felt amazed by the ways that I have handled certain things, that something like heartbreak could lead me to deepening my understanding of forgiveness like that. So I look back at the younger versions, and to say, like, even though things were hard, I feel really, really amazed with the ways that I've learned and grown from it and have been able to alchemize and transmute those things to serve my own growth and healing and well-being. So I take that courage and knowing into things in the future that might be meant to harm me or might be hurtful in experience. And then, when you said discipline earlier, that word has been coming up for me, and a lot of times I have a very visceral and negative reaction to that word. The defiant spirit in me just wants to
challenge, and I have this idea of discipline being like really harsh and like not compassionate. So I was thinking the word I feel like I want to tap into or use is like nurturance, and like this idea of like how can I nurture particular parts of me, and asking myself that on a daily basis is like, how am I nurturing the part of me that's a writer? How am I nurturing the part of me that wants to build trust in my body? How am I nurturing that? And I feel like that feels a bit, I would love to hear people's definitions of discipline, because I think I also need to shift in my own. But I think the word nurturance is what's coming up for me for um next year. And also the word power. I've been really playing with how we're conditioned to think power is evil or power corrupts or power whatever. And I want to play with standing and playing with power a lot more. This brings me into like kink and flirting and all kind of things, but like I just want to play with my power and not have messages around fear around being in my power.
I love that. One thing that you said, that you're able to transmute pain and heartbreak into deeper realizations of healing and well-being. That is beautiful, and something I think if we all sit long enough with, we can remember the power that we have and hold. I use the word discipline, I think, because it's icky for me too. I love nurturance. I think for me, it comes back to a sense of consistency, what I'm willing to continue doing without immediate gratification. But yes, I do feel like, I think it's the ickiness of the word that makes me be like, ugh, no, like stop telling me what to do kind of thing. But at the same time, recognizing that, it's a choice, and it is in fact a form of self-love to continuously work towards something that I desire, that I deserve. Even in nurturance, you have to be disciplined enough day to day, or consistent enough day to day, to ask yourself those revealing questions and to sit and wait on the answer. So there's a part of it that sounds icky, perhaps, if someone else is enacting it as a form of violence upon you. But when I'm using all of your words, when you take your power back with that word, it then turns or transmutes into a greater and deeper sense of self-love and honoring. Ooh, here we go, Lizzie, and self-regard. So that just worked out well. Thank you, Delisha. That was great. I got all those points in. Stacy, I'm here for it.
It's interesting. And I completely hear and respect what you're saying, both of you, about discipline feeling yucky. It's so interesting to me because discipline to me feels like love.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like, again, as a dancer, discipline was practice. And it was the thing that opened up freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was, you're at the bar before you even go to the floor, you're at the bar doing tendu after tendu, or you're practicing these movements, you're practicing form over and over and over again. And the most celebrated, talented, held in the highest regard dancers do the same thing, even at the height of their success. They always start with that discipline. And it's because it opens you up to the freedom of movement. Once you get out on the floor, the freedom of expression, the freedom of artistry. In many ways, if you practice the small building blocks, it then means that you don't have to think about it as you are performing and sharing with others, other dancers, musicians, audience, etc. So I just wanted to, not that I'm trying to change your perspective on discipline, I just wanted to share what I mean when I say discipline. And one of the reasons why I'm trying to invite that back into my life, as I figure out, as I reincorporate the life of the body and artistry into my life. I would really like to, I want that back. I want that discipline back because it was love and freedom for me. But I think nurturance is another way of saying the exact same thing. So I invite you guys to stick with that word too, because it feels better to you. In response to the questions, what did I still need to hear at this point in my life? I think I need to hear that it's possible to flourish and live well in abundance, doing things that I love. What would I tell my younger self about mending after feeling broken? Is that it takes time, but it's possible. And not to seek to heal completely on my own. To find good and healthy community to help me. What's my theme and focus for 2024? What I've been saying today. So courage to surrender. And then an invitation and to openness and accepting what spirit says back. And then practicing those things so that I can move towards liberation.
Yes. I appreciate the reframing of discipline for multiple reasons, but one, because it sounds or my sense was that Delisha was really inviting new frameworks to shift that concept away from the icky into something that can feel more like self-love. I think my statements were just me recognizing that internally for me, it feels icky, but I know what it is. I know in times when I have been disciplined, the areas of my life where I've been able to grow and thrive. But what I love is this, I know in general you're speaking about dancing, but to say that discipline opens like the freedom of movement, like literally, but also figuratively, the consistency with which we tend to ourselves, we do things, we practice until something becomes habitual. And once it becomes habitual, then it becomes woven into the fabric of who we are. So I don't have to wake up and think about if I'm going to have time to go meditate, because of course I have time to go meditate. That's just what I do when I wake up in the morning. The same way as I wake up and I go use the bathroom and I wash my teeth. I guess it's kind of washing. I brush my teeth and I wash my face. Like I do that regularly. So, it's that. And to me, that's how those things come together. And then I think your focus with this invitation to openness ties all of that together. Whether the word is openness or nurturance or discipline, it is this invitation to welcome these wonderful things into our lives. And then lastly, I just want to highlight, this reality that we can't heal by ourselves. We can't heal by ourselves. There are parts of us that absolutely we can tend to, but we need others. We are built to be in community with others. We need perspective. We need understanding. We need compassion. We need grace. We need to be loved in and on and over. We need that when we can't dig deep enough in self to find it. I love how sometimes, churchy folk will just tell you to pray through it, or you got to learn to, to call on God or to tarry enough. And I'm telling you that there are some points in times when your voice won't be the one that can tarry. You need somebody to support it. There's a reason the Bible says when two or more are joined together. There's a reason that these things come that remind us how we are built to be in community. You can't do it on your own. At some point, your well is going to run dry. Even the Nile dries up twice a year. Like there is this reason. It doesn't matter how fluid it is, or how abundance it gives, or how fertile the soil is when it is ready. There are moments in time when it's not going to be available to you or ready for you. That is why we have community. That is why there are feeders, that there are people that can pour in and over you. That is what not just this community needs, but the ability to identify what these spaces are, what these places are outside of it. It's why we do this kind of self-reflection, so that when you need to call on something or someone, you know what you're calling on or towards. It's a reason to ask this question: what do you need to hear? Because you've got a group full of people here who are willing to tell you, yes, Stacey, it is possible for you to live a full and an abundant life. It is absolutely possible for you to have the exact life that you have to, or that you desire to lead. And it is actually by you doing exactly what you say that you're going to do. And that is to be open to what is coming for you. You know what it is. You just have to surrender where you've been and be open to your desires. That is how it's coming forth. And we see it present as Carolyn has been able to shift and have land and now welcome many people onto that land. We see it in Sweet Tea, who has done this up and down, but now sees how to invite people into collective conversations by way of being authentic about how trauma affects and impacts how people are able to relate. It is in that we see the possibility, and it is in your desire and your willingness to be open, and in your presence here, like many have said, that is practice ground, where we get to find and root ourselves, where we get to dig those or not even dig, but tend to those roots, to nourish them, to feed them, to let them grow and expand as wildly as they desire, while also knowing that there are others around to farm with. In those days that you can't tend to your own plants, there's somebody else who will water you. Carolyn, go ahead.
I've sort of lost my, I just so much, Adande, so much. And I think perhaps what's most on my heart to say at this moment is, this is one of those Sundays that I'm just getting this big full dose of Spirit Rising medicine. And it's nourishing me so much. And I think you really captured it in the last that you shared, and what Stacey shared, is that we can create circles, we can create ways of being that uplift each other and that aid and abet our collective liberation. And I'm just feeling that medicine so deeply. And I don't know what I'd like to say to my young self, but what I'd like to offer my young self is the kind of community I'm here to build and that we are building. That's what I want to offer my young self, is people that are striving to be, spiritually mature adults in service to our souls and to one another, and in service to a greater liberation, and in service to earth liberation. I want to offer myself is belonging in that space. And I want to offer that to others. And I'm feeling the medicine of that here today. And I'm feeling uplifted. I haven't read, Sweet Tea, your post uplifting me on Facebook, but like, that's so sweet to hear. And I was working with someone I mentor recently, and she's like, I know I shouldn't need outside validation, she said. And I said, why not? I do. Why not? Why don't we get to have a whole tribe of people that love and uplift us? I think there's a lot of forces trying to tear us down. Why not have a whole tribe of people that are lifting us up? So thank you, community. Thank you, Adande, for showing up in the fullness of who you are.
Thank you, Ashe. I appreciate all of those words. I know that I just want to repeat. I think I switched some words, but I want to offer myself as belonging in the spaces that love and liberation produce. Like you initially said, I don't have anything to say to my younger self, but that to me says it all. I don't know what my youngest self, when trying to figure out belonging, I imagine that my youngest self would have been filled with gratitude and amazed if I were able to come back and say, I'm offering myself, which means you and me, as belonging in these spaces of love and liberation. I am offering you me, this version, this afterwards version of me, because now I know. So that's what I'm giving you. That, I don't know if you meant for it to be that beautiful, but that's amazing. Like I'm offering my former self, the version of me that knows and is healed in that space and gets it. I'm giving you me. That is a gift. That is a gift. That is absolutely beautiful, Carolyn. Thank you. Eileen and then Sweet Tea.
This has been a powerful meditation that you've offered us, Adande, and I've been very nourished by everything that's been shared. And my writing reflected much of the main points that we've touched upon. What I wrote to my younger self was to talk to your grandmothers more, and to healing is possible. Do not be afraid to shed tears. The tears that flow release fear. That's why it can feel scary. You are not alone. Just look around on your journey, surrounded by love, constantly. People once strangers, now family. You are not here to suffer, but most of all, nurture the best friend within and find beyond the brokenness of the human world an older, more powerful and ancient presence. A haiku that I wrote while listening to our conversation was, men from brokenness, these stains are impermanent. Regrow new roots slow. Dissolve fully, need for surrender. Dissolve fully tenderness. Be with your wholeness. And then regarding your prompts, I am a warrior, a lover of beauty and justice, survivor of cosmic amputation, protector of authentic goodness, making my way through darkness that's been imposed. But you can call me Remedy, my namesake, Eileen, Angel of Love. And I've been thinking about the role of discipline a lot in my future, in ensuring a future where I invite love and the things that continually nourish me, and being true to that. This occurred to me actually a few days ago, and from the reason why I say regrow new roots slow is because in my being reacquainted with pain over and over throughout the year, after being uprooted. I have a new relationship, and it's teaching. And yeah, so I cannot stress how much it's important to remember that you're not alone, and that it's okay to lean on each other. And to start to see the love that people see in me, in myself. Yeah. So those are just a few of my takeaways from this amazing conversation.
I love how you just ended with, so that's just a little bit that I was thinking. You are surrounded by love, people once strangers, now family. My gosh. That is this space. That is Spirit Rising. Surrounded by love, people once strangers, now family. And then I also just noted, do not be afraid to shed tears, nurture the best friend within. All of those are tidbits to remember. If you would not mind, I would love if you would share your haikus that I can send out to everyone. There's something simple and beautiful about being able to capture complex things in that format, because it's intricate, but it also is just, I don't know, it's like, I don't know how to, what comes to mind is like when you look outside after a fresh snow and like everything is covered and it's white and there are no footprints. Like listening to your haiku kind of felt like that, like glancing out on something that's perfectly covered and undisturbed, but you know that, you know, all of the snow as it falls and just lays just right on the limbs or the leaves or the whatever, it's an intricate thing. It looks so simple and easy, but it's beautiful and fully covering. So just thank you for all of that. Absolutely. Okay, sweet tea.
Thank you, everyone. Wonderful haiku remedy. Yeah, I just want to just put it out in the world. This is great. Put it out in the world. What I still need to hear at this point in my life, it'll happen soon. My book will be completed soon. So we're going to put soon, because I want to get it done in 2 years. I want to get the first draft done. Just get it done, because I've been writing for a long time and I want to get the pieces together, or I want to assemble the pieces into something complete. So 2 years. It will happen soon. It will happen soon. So instead of just it will happen, it'll happen soon. What would you tell your younger self about mending after feeling broken? Patience. And my focus for 2024, this point forward, is being at my vocation. And whatever that is, I'm not going to call it a job. I need income, and it'll be at my vocation. And that's what I'm finding. That is what I am sitting in patiently. It's not that job that that many people are wanting for me and wanting to help. No, I just realized it's a vocation. So being settled in that early in 2024 would be great, but that is my focus that I need to focus on. And it's happening. I'm creating steps. So thank you.
I love that. We are so excited to help you move in this journey or move forward in this journey of completing your writing soon. We know that by the end of 2024, early 2025, we will have a draft that we can help you edit and offer response to and workshop in the group, so that all you'll have to do is have a formal edit, and whatever your design for the cover is, we look forward to seeing the soon come version of this memoir that we have been watching you not write but develop pieces of over spans of time. So we are excited for you. We're excited with you. And we all know that it is coming soon coming. But I am loving the shift of, you know what, I got to make some money because we got to make money in this world. But I'm gonna live into this as a vocation. All I needed to do was pay some bills because I got a purpose that is elsewhere. I got something else to do in life. I just need something to do to get me through, to do the things that I need to be doing. That is so real. Spoken like a true artist. We thank you. Yes. If there are, well, are there any final thoughts before I pray and close us out?
I just want to mention, I'm looking back right here. I have a check to myself of $10 million, and I wrote to myself. And the date on it, so I said 2 years, and the date on it is my birthday, and 2 years from now. And so I'm just like, okay, that's it hasn't come due yet, that check. But the date is in 2025, and I wrote it, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago.
Wow. Wow. I thought you were saying like, oh, I just did this, and so it's in 2 years, but you're like, no, I just made this statement of 2 years, and this is already up here. Man, I love how things come together.
I'm like, I think it says 2025 on there.
Look at Amen.
All right, I got it.
Yeah. We moving, we're getting there. Soon come.
Yeah.
Yes, Carolyn. Oh, you're still muted.
Oh, just an announcement that Tamira and I are leading an online solstice ritual, and it's called Longing as Light, Be Still and Feel. So we're going to be having a real contemplative ritual, and T, who's sometimes on with us, is going to song lead. I think, was it on the announcement, Adande? I didn't notice. Yes. So if anyone wants to join us, we would be so delighted to have you. And it's kind of sliding scale donation. Come join us. That's 19th in the evening.
And I believe Lizzie also has an offering this evening. It is also in the email. I think she just hopped off. Yes. Okay. Then I will just offer mine in the wake of, kind of community, but I think
Adande?
Yes.
Oh, I also had one announcement that the Contemporary Art Museum has invited me back to host a reset in the New Year activity the first Friday of January. So it's all the materials are provided. It's guided meditation and collage from 6 to 8 p.m. on January. And I can also send more information when I send the hike to your email.
Yes, I will put that out for everyone. I'm so excited and happy that you were welcomed back into that space. I'm sure it'll be amazing. My focus for 2024 and or this point forward again is consistency, but it's also radical acceptance. So moving into a greater ability to just be okay with and not judge the things that are happening as good or bad, but to simply let them be and see what beauty can come from that. So that is part of my 2024. What I still need to hear at this point in life, I think, is like, you really are okay. I think that is often when I get into a tense headspace. I typically just need to hear like, you're okay, like you're okay. And the sentences I have are: I am holding tight to tenderness, lover of grace and love's provisions, survivor of every yesterday that precedes this moment, protector of purpose and holder of magic, making my way towards the depth of wild essence, but you can call me friend. If you will allow me, I will pray us out. Mother, Father, Creator, we are always blessed to be in community with each other, with you at our root and center. This container is nothing without the blessings and healings poured upon us and in us and throughout us. We are grateful for our connection to the earth and the earth beings, the sky and the sky beings, the water and the water beings, air and the air beings. We are grateful at how they show up in our words, in our thoughts, and in our connections. We are grateful for healing, for process, for journey, for consistency, for nurturance, for power. And we're grateful for the history of resilience and steadfastness and fortitude that allows us to see what can transpire on the other side of brokenness. We are grateful that beauty is persistent and that pain is temporary. We ask that you hold everyone's heart who is here and those who desire to be here but couldn't, in a space of deep joy and appreciation and gratitude, that those feelings might grow beyond their wildest imaginations and our wildest dreams as we carry this feeling into the new year. All of these things and whatever is on the hearts of those in this space and container, we ask in honor of the most divine. Ashe and amen. Thank you all for sharing this time with me, and honestly for demonstrating. I almost made it without crying, look at that. For demonstrating that when I am in a space where I feel falsely disconnected from spirit, that spirit can still move through me and that we can still create something beautiful. I have learned and shifted and been supported and loved this entire day. And I did not know what I had to offer you this morning. In fact, I felt and prayed because I thought I would be hypocritical if I got here and said anything. But you have helped to restore the reliance and in community and in coming as you are and showing up with what you have and letting spirit take over. So I thank you all for that. I pray you have a beautiful, beautiful Sunday. The sun keeps threatening to peek out here. So I hope you get some sunshine and a beautiful rest of the day. Please get outside and get some fresh air. Eat something yummy because it's Sunday. Why not?
Why not?
Why not?
Why not?
Thank you so much, Adona. This was beautiful. Thank you for showing up and trusting yourself and trusting us.
And trusting spirit. Spirit is always calling. Thank you, daughter. This is so beautiful. Love you, family.
Love you all.
Donde, we've had nothing but sunshine
Thank
since
you
we spoke this
all.
morning.
Thank you, Donde.
Thank you.
Facilitated beautifully. So
You really did.
yeah, that's what a
Amazing.
facilitator
Amazing
does.
as always.